Well, I'll tell you what, Brad, I do not like those statistics. Like, that is not good. 1.7, I mean, at least we have 2.2 kids or something, right? Whatever it
Christy and Ana, we join up again for important conversations.
Yes.
Girl, can you
better
talk?
believe it.
And what a great podcast name. So we're gonna start right out by directing listeners, viewers to go and subscribe to your podcast and check out your great work there. I can't wait to get into the background of how you guys got going with this podcast, being lifelong friends, and that's going to lead into the topic of discussion, which was such a compelling overview that you sent me after we met in person in Vegas about the importance of friendship and connection and things that, as we obsess about health and all the biohacking and popular things, sometimes the basics get overlooked. And I'm really concerned about it now at my age, realizing that like half my life, there was no internet or there was no mobile device until recent years. And it has changed the culture and changed society a lot. So we're going to talk about some important things. Christy and Ana, tell me about your background and how that podcast got started, especially.
Christy, do you want to start or I could start? I mean, once we get started, we have to interrupt each other, right?
Yeah, and it's fine. And interrupt us too, please. Like, we know we're going to have a fantastic conversation with the three of this energy is like crazy. So thank you so much for having us on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much. Brad, Christy and I have been friends since we were 10 years old or 11 years old. And we are very fortunate to have our friendship. And because that is our reality, I think that we didn't realize that a lot of people don't have connections with other, in particular for us at the time, women, to have conversations to problem solve or be able to just say, hey, I don't feel good today, or hey, good job, however it is. As we get older, we didn't realize that people didn't have that until we started talking about things with other women and men. And my husband heard us talking on the phone and was like, you two need to have a podcast, because obviously the things that you're talking about, people need to hear. And we were taken aback, right, Christy?
Yes. We were like, say what? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I think because we have that history, you don't realize other people's reality. So after talking to other friends and learning that friendship is not a part, or long-term friendship is not a part of people's lives, we started realizing the importance of current friendship. Even if it's a short term, like somebody you just met, it can be somebody who can change your life.
Yeah, well said. And I don't know all the forces in play here, but it seems like things have changed in recent times and everything is moving at a faster pace, and even conversations move at a faster pace. Like, oh, I gotta go. Let's talk more later. Everything seems cut off, and we're just kind of thrown into the digital age with some of that lost art. And I read stories about how young people are losing their skills, especially as it relates to searching for a mate and interacting. Everything's done on digital device now. And so the repercussions are pretty strong. I remember citing some research in one of our books where the average person has an average of something like 1.7 close friends, or some stunning statistic like that, and then the close friend definition is someone who would drop everything at a moment's notice to help you, for example, move out of your apartment over the weekend, or be there with you during a crisis, or something where you can really call someone up and you don't have to go through hoops to realize that they got your back. So that was the definition, and things seem to be getting more and more narrow from decades past, where I think we're interacting more in our live community, right? And we didn't have a digital community, so our whole life was what was in front of our eyes.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brad, I do not like those statistics. Like, that is not good. 1.7, I mean, at least we have 2.2 kids or something, right? And I think this, we did come up with like a method for people to connect, but it was really all in hindsight as we have been on our podcast we've had for 2 years. And as we've had these different conversations, a lot of people ask us like, how have you been friends for so long? And we're not only talking about the 1.7, right? Friends, close friends that you have. Obviously, Ana is my one. I don't know who the 0.7 is, but I'll figure that out.
I would probably be the 0.7 because I'm so short. That's what I...
But I think the reason you're right, this day and age, and actually our age, I'm 52 years old. Ana, you can, if you want to spill your...
I'm 51 still. I'm 51.
51, yeah. And we did graduate high school together and so on and so forth. But the thing is that there are definitely stages that we go through, and especially once we get to midlife, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, it doesn't really matter. A lot of us are working from home. A lot of us, I could work out from home. I could order food from home. I can do everything from home. Well, I don't think that is helping anybody. And while you talk about such fantastic things on your podcast, eating well, working out, high achieving, it's a whole package. And I think one thing that we don't talk about is how friendships and connections impact your health.
So this bond method that you developed, you actually looked at this thing, compiled a lot of information from your podcast guests, and you have a structured thing to focus on. I'd love to hear a little about that.
Well, I first want to acknowledge this Harvard study that says that it was like just under 300 people in their sophomore year of of college, and studied their lives in longevity. And they talk about how we talk a lot about childhood development, and they're talking about adult development. And what they discovered was super profound, that when you have really strong, close relationships, it's not money or fame that helps you be happy. Believe it or not, it is these relationships and the connections that they really do protect you against life's stresses, including things that damage you internally, like stress or heart disease and all of the, what do they call them, morbidities that people think that are going to take them out, right? Well, loneliness turns out to be one of the biggest indicators of somebody's life ending, maybe even prematurely. And in this study, the biggest thing that Christy and I got a kick out of is that your relationships when you're 50, so not when you're, maybe it's kind of funny for her and I, because not when you're 10, but when you're 50 and beyond, are the ones that really give you value, that create this longevity. So that
it shows your health of when you're 80 years old. And by the way, that's kind of weird that your relationships at 50 predict your health and longevity and happiness at 80. But it was also an 80-year study that Ana is talking about, that they followed these people and their offspring for 80 years.
So when we went back in, when we were thinking about that, and we had heard it actually, and we were both taken aback. We really put our heads down and thought about our past and what we've done to create friendship, because one of the problems that not only women and men, I would say men even struggle more, is making those friends and not putting it up to be a priority. So we went back and we made an acronym. So our acronym is BOND. Christy, you want to tell a little bit?
Like James Bond. I mean, come on.
James Bond. I mean, come on. 007 Bond.
007. Who doesn't want to be like that? Yes. Okay. So to give you the brief acronym, and then we can really dig in, but it's BOND. B is for be open. O is for offer invitations. N is for nurture consistency. And D is deepen through vulnerability. I don't know if we got your wheels turning over here, Brad, with our studies and everything. You didn't know we were going to come with all that, did you?
Heavy stuff. That's funny, the Harvard study that you're referencing, and putting that marker in at age 50, predicting your your health potential when you reach age 80, or your potential to get there in the case of the average life expectancy is just around there. So most people are dead at age 80, but the people who have strong relationships at age 50 tend to do better. And I was thinking of the Cooper Institute and University of Texas famous study where they tested people's competency in the mile run at age 50, and it was a really strong predictor of their longevity and health potential to age 80. So here we have this thing going hand in hand with those same decade references. And you could make the argument that if you have strong social connections, maybe you're more likely to engage in healthy habits. I know the Framingham study has this, I think it's 3 degrees of separation, where there's clusters of things like obesity, where people tend to have friends and connections going out 3 levels that are similar in terms of destructive health practices as well as healthy ones. So, your close circle of friends being really tight predicts that those friends have other friends where they're also tight with, and you're envisioning this Venn diagram of beautiful connection. And then, unfortunately, and you can reference back to childhood and adolescence, where people, kind of turned into outcasts or struggled on a social level. And boy, it was really rough to see or experience on certain levels, I would say, because you realize how easy it is to kind of get spit out the back, especially today, and have those numbers go down to where you're really not nurturing these great friendships. And there's a lot of lonely people out there maybe living next door that you never even meet or talk to.
One of the things that we have heard multiple times lately, they used to call, or they are currently saying that, how do you say it? Loneliness. Loneliness is the new smoking. And then, they hear sitting is the new smoking. And so Christy and I are like, okay, so what if you sit, smoke, and
you're
by
lonely.
yourself? Then
Whoa.
you're in trouble.
Yeah. And we know
Yeah.
with Born to Walk, nobody's sitting anymore.
That's
But
right.
we definitely want to bring attention to the importance of close friendships. And I think definitely like females tend to run that if you're in a relationship, not always, but they're the ones that are typically the ones that are setting up the dinner date with another couple or setting up things. And so I think it's just so important for us all individually to realize the importance for ourselves and our longevity and our happiness, especially if the women tend, and even we speak to women about it, and it has to be a priority, and it's not as easy. When you were younger, it still could be socially hard, but when you're in school, when you're in college, when you go to an in-person job, it's a little bit more there for you. I think as we get older, it does take some work and some thoughtful things. And that is the whole reason that we have the method. I mean, the other thing I wanted to say when you guys were talking about all the longevity was like the blue zones. If you know anything about the blue zones, one of the main common denominators of all of the longest living centenarians and blue zones is community. So that's why we are here.
Yeah, the active lifestyle and the strong social connections were the 2 most profound insights taken out of the blue zones. It's been heavily criticized in recent years for cherry picking data about diet, and a lot of blue zones promoters are leading with the fact that these people eat a lot of plants and de-emphasizing that they also eat a lot of animal products. There's also criticism that they're looking at areas that have high rates of birth certificate irregularity, pension fraud, and things like that. So that's disturbing some of the propaganda that's spit out by the blue zones. Some of these quotes that we pulled for the book, like, the more meat you're eating, the shorter you can put on your lifespan, just nonsense like that. But what the great parts that I like to focus on, especially with Okinawa, one of the leading longevity pockets in the world, they have this concept called ikigai there, where they have a strong life purpose and they have a strong community, where they're kind of grouped up with, I think it's 4 other people, or a total of 4 people in this little pocket, and they remain lifelong friends. And it's like part of their culture to have this. So, and then of course, moving around and walking around and living that simple life. And you said something earlier, Anna, that was interesting where, if you're smoking, sitting around, engaging with too much digital technology, not into healthy eating and food prep and shopping at the farmer's market and all those things, those kind of go hand in hand, I was thinking, right? Because if you're bored and sitting around and lonely, you're going to find ways for instant gratification, unhealthy habits, and kind of spiral downward, and not be a fit, active, athletic, energetic person that's out and about in the community all the time. Although there might be some people that fall into that category now, where we were doing this all-day hike in Palm Springs last year, the Cactus to Clouds, and we got passed by these 2 females after dark. They had gone by themselves out into the wilderness to climb the toughest climb in America, 22 miles round trip. And I was like, you came out here by yourself? That is so impressive. But at the same time, I'm like, you really went on this all day thing out into, seemingly dangerous dark wilderness. And they were some tough, brave females. But it's like, I wish those 2 had been put together, because 2 of them passed us, in this succession of maybe they were an hour apart or something. And I know there's good efforts to like have group meetups based around fitness, which is super awesome. Probably going back to your bond method, where you have to, put it out there and be open and all those things.
Yes. And Brad, you mentioned something there that was very key. And that was that when you're sitting around, we all experienced this, I think, during COVID. We are sitting indoors and it got comfortable. There's a comfort with my groceries coming in. There's a comfort with, not having any feedback when I'm on my phone digitally. I don't have to engage face to face. We lacked that energy with one another, and we need to reintroduce ourselves as a norm rather than maintaining the norm of everything just coming back to us. So it is really important, and that is really digs into our bond method.
Yeah, I'm thinking of how I met my wife. Elizabeth was on an airplane flight, and we laugh because what I do when I get on an airplane, and I have done my whole life, especially when I was racing as an athlete and got into this habit, is I get in my seat, I put on earplugs, blindfold, I blow up 2 pillows, and I recline as soon as the captain button goes off, and I try to sleep just about every time I fly. And in this particular occasion, I didn't. And, it was a life-changing decision to engage in some conversation with my wife, who made the first statement, and then we started talking. And so you think about those lost potential connections when we're in our own world, or we're engaging with a device in public, rather than just standing in line and offering up little tidbits of conversation and seeing where they go. So I do realize
Anna, that is so wild.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I mean,
well, because we need to add connect on an airplane to our list of
exactly.
Be Open, which is our first thing. Like, we literally have ideas of where you can connect. We just didn't have the airplane on there. I love this so much. Yeah.
And Christy, will you get into you get into the Be Open part? But I first want to say, Brad, that the thing that happened, I think people and it's by no fault of anybody's, that we need to learn how to engage in a lot of cases. And the mothers in both Christy and I think came out and were like, okay, we're going to help these people learn how to engage. And you know what, Christy? I think the airplane needs to make the list. I think so.
Well, hey, we have a list for Be Open, Brad, if you want to get into that now.
Oh, I love it. On the airplane story, I got to tell you, it was Southwest Airlines, and I was talking to customer service like a couple years later and begging them for an exception to their A-list qualification category because we were 1,000 points short or something. I said, please, 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 we love Southwest so much. That's how we met. I met my wife on an airplane, and the agent was like, wow, that's amazing. That's so interesting. And then they accepted our requests, and then like a couple weeks later, we got this tube in the mail and pulled out a poster of a Southwest Airlines airplane that had been signed by probably a couple dozen customer service agents. And I was like,
That's so
I want to
cool.
give a plug for Southwest. Our next commercial on the podcast is for awesome
Exactly.
Southwest. Because like,
That is
imagine
awesome.
people at work thinking, hey, these guys met on an airplane and got married. It was really cool. But yeah, let's hear more about the instructions, because I think
That is so funny.
it's a necessary thing now to go over this in a methodical manner, because
Yes.
we've lost the skills from whatever age that you first got your device and realized you could disengage with the world around you.
Well, I mean, basically, we're talking about going fishing here. We're going to go fishing. We call it shopping, that we're going to go shopping.
We call it shopping, but we're going to go fishing.
We're going to go fishing.
Because we know you have a lot of men on your podcast, and we shop at Neiman Marcus. Where would you like to go fishing?
Yes,
I
exactly.
see.
Like in Baja or something? I don't know.
Yeah, let's make one up.
But anyways,
we're going zip lining.
Well, so
for the
basically, in Puerto Rico. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay.
I think it's just important to kind of think about where you can connect, because you have to take the effort. And there is the day-to-day, hey, you're out and about. And I think that we could have our earbuds plug in. We could be on mode, and we're not really connecting. As a matter of fact, some of these big cities, you can be surrounded by people. So we're not even talking necessarily about people when you're only at home, and still be lonely because you're not talking to anybody. You're not connecting. So I think just the normal day-to-day of being out and about, whether you're at the grocery store or the nail shop or the gym, which is very difficult because I go in the gym to resistance train, Brad. I could do it at home. I don't need it, but I'm like, I want to get out of the house and go. Well, it is hard to connect because everybody has their earbuds in, but it is still a place for some people where they can connect with people. I think local clubs are also a great place, whether it's a golf club, club, pickleball. My husband and I play pickleball, and we've met some really nice people, and it's something we can do together. Chamber and stuff like that. Ana, did you want to add any to this list we got
I think
going?
the idea is being open to what you want out of life. So go to the place, see your life through the windshield, not the rear view mirror, and be open in choosing to go places that enhance your future you. So maybe, Brad, in your case, you're an extreme athlete. So maybe in your case, you're like, I am also looking forward to someday I want to play golf more. I want to go play golf. I still want to be outdoors, but maybe I'm not going to be doing the high jump anymore. So you might want to join a golf club. Maybe not the golf club yet. Maybe you want to just go and hit balls at the driving range. And then when you are there, keeping your eyes open to see the people that are around you. Because a lot of times, like what Christy's saying, is we put in our earbuds and we stay so focused on ourselves, and ourselves is not going to get us all the way to where we want to go in the future. So it is good, a golf club, even the driving range. Another place that I think is a really cool thing to do, which can be scary, is events. Things like we went to Camp Be More, and we were there for 3 days. It was a convention. I was going to go all by myself. I didn't need anybody to go with me. And you know why, Brad? Because I wanted to meet more people. And Christy ended up coming, and we did. We actually spent 4th of July
we met
with
Brad
people.
there.
Yes, and we spent 4th of July with people that we met there. We've had a really cool guy on our podcast and become friends with you. So going to events is really good, and thinking about what you want out of your future when you're picking those events.
Yeah, nobody's trying to waste any time, right?
Yeah, and like you guys said, it's important to make the effort and put yourself in a position to succeed, because we can easily shrink back, and especially for those who raise their hand and relate to being an introvert by nature. And so it always feels like an effort to get out there and even make the smallest bit of socializing effort. But it's kind of like you made that connection to fitness, where in order to adhere to a fitness program, the behavior psychologist suggests that, like, the kettlebell in your house needs to be in plain sight, and you're looking at it all day to give you a chance to build that habit, and you're going to do some swings every time you leave your office and go somewhere in the house. And I have videos on YouTube about like my staircase represents a fitness opportunity all day long. And every time I go up a staircase, I do fast feet, like the sprinting drill, rather than just walk up the staircase. And so it's become a habit. I do it every time, and I can't walk up a staircase normally anymore because the other part's been ingrained. And so I'm trying to draw the connection to like when you're shopping at the market and you don't have to speak to anybody. You don't even have to go to the market, like you say. But these are the points where, you know, we need to start building these behaviors where we are going to go out of our way to make that effort to overcome introversion or overcome cultural norms and say something to somebody and get that positive payoff that builds and builds upon itself. And I know that's tough for whatever it is. Half of the listeners, viewers, right, might be introverts and half might qualify as extroverts. But I find, especially in the United States of America and other places I've traveled, people are so amazingly friendly. Just the average, 97 out of 100 people that you go up to, you could do a test. We could do a YouTube video out in front of the store and say, hey, do you got a second? Can you tell us which of the 3 colorful shirts today is your favorite from the three podcast participants?
What red do you like the best?
Yeah. Most people will not brush you off in life, but we kind of have this sense of, I see people oftentimes walking around with a frown, and you get that first impression because whatever, someone's deeply lost in thought, or they just happen to not be smiley face all day long. But as soon as you break through that first impression, it's almost always found that everyone's friendly, everyone has a desire to connect and has a little time to share, which is really cool about life. But it's like hidden behind these facades that we put up, including holding on to a device where, you seem busy, you seem too busy to talk to.
Well, we would challenge your listeners that when you see somebody with a frown, try to make eye contact with them and smile at them, because you don't know what kind of day they're having, and you could have changed their day just by getting them to smile. It's actually, Christy and I talk about it a lot. It's our challenge, right?
Yeah. I remember having this, Connell Barrett is a longtime sports journalist, and now he's turned his attention recently he wrote a book about, it was picking up women, essentially. We could probably pick nicer words, but he realized, he was based in New York City, and he realized this was a lost art, and not to talk about it in a sleazy way, but it was actually how to engage with an attraction of, your preference. It goes for same-sex too, but in general terms, it's like how to actually make it work on an authentic level rather than the sleaze level where you have your first 7 lines and none of those land anymore. But my main insight that I remember well is that if you just ask someone else about themselves, it's a super favorite subject for everybody, and you basically can't lose if you just go up to somebody and say, oh, hey, let's say on the airplane, are you flying to your home destination, or are you visiting Sacramento? And it seems so easy and simple, but a lot of times we're, self-absorbed, or whatever the term is, where you're not even asking someone about themselves at all, and then you don't connect and you don't learn anything.
It's so true.
Confucius said, resolve to listen more and talk less, because no one ever learns anything by talking.
And that goes to our next acronym. The second letter in our acronym is O, which is offering invitations without fear of rejection. And what you just said, Brad, is really correlating with that, because we all know that interacting with people can be nerve-wracking, whether you're looking for a new relationship on a romantic curve, or if you're looking for just some people, a friendship, a community, or just if it's for that day. However, if you take it one step further and you're offering an invitation to maybe coffee, or to go bike riding together, or to go for a walk, that part, I know our audience can get nervous and feel like, oh my gosh, but because why are you nervous? You're afraid of rejection. And so Christy had some really great insight on that I loved, that gets rid of the fear of rejection when you do a couple of different things. Christy, what were they?
That's a great question.
You don't
I'm wondering
remember?
No, I don't know what you're
No,
referring
I'm
to.
referring to when you go for a walk, you're already doing it. So inviting them to things you're already doing.
So like if you're not sure, and what I said earlier, and I meant it in the most loving way, is you're trying to build new connections, but you're also not trying to waste your time. Like you do want it to be quality friendships. You want to have, if there's 10 things in common, I mean, let's be honest, you got to have 8 to 10, 7 to 10. You don't have to have everything the same. So I think the first invitation, if you are doing something that you already do, like I already go for a walk. I want to go for a walk. So want to walk together? Want to go on a hike together? And then you're kind of actively, it's not like awkward sitting across from the table where you're trying to figure out conversation. You're moving and you're able to connect. So I think that would be a great example, is starting with things that you already do or that you want to do. Or maybe it's something that you want to try new. Maybe it's pickleball. I don't know.
That's a great take, because I think you're inherently going to be more confident and less fragile knowing that, hey, I'm going shopping at Erewhon. Would you like to go with me? And it's like, if you turn me down, it's okay because I'm still going there. I love that. That's really cool. I'd love to talk about it further, because I do feel like that fear of rejection holds us back so much. I remember as a young person, certainly I was crippled by fear of rejection when reaching out to the female attraction. And so some of that I think is, deeply embedded and possibly never goes away to a certain extent, where it's really hard to put yourself out there. And so like, maybe you have like a role playing where, someone says no and you're okay with it and you realize the world's not over and you're still a cool person or something.
Well, I mean, I think fear of rejection is something that everybody experiences at all different stages of your life. It might be when you're younger. It might be when you're older. I just think it's normal. I think it's normal but I think sometimes we have to take that ownership of, it's not about, like if somebody says no thank you or whatever, a lot of times it's about them. It's not about you. You've got to be willing to put yourself out there and have the benefits for yourself, and not put too much weight on it, I guess. And that's why I think you start casually. I mean, have you ever had somebody that you have, well, let's say if it's texting and you reach out, hey, you want to get to, and then they don't respond. And then all these things start going through your head of all the reasons why you're not worthy. And you know what? It might just literally be that when you text them, they were in the middle of something and they forgot about it. So follow up, like I think give people the benefit of the doubt first, rather than creating your own story of why they're rejecting you or not.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Scott Galloway, the podcaster, best-selling author of The Algebra of Happiness. And he's known for being kind of hard-hitting and brusque and abrasive, but, speaking the truth. And he was addressing like today's male is struggling and has a difficult time because females are more empowered than ever to live life independently. And it wasn't like generations past where the females are stressing that their biological clock is ticking. And if they're 30 and they're not married yet, they're going to have a life of misery and become an old maid. And so now, because of that, he shouts out to he calls it the bottom 50% performers of today's male. They don't have a lot of options and they're not succeeding very well in their pursuit of female partnership. And so he's saying, like, you need to get your act together and you need to realize that you're in a competitive setting. And it was kind of a, shocking to hear someone verbalize all these things that we might be thinking deep down. But it's like, yeah, if you're putting it out there and you're not getting a lot of bites, if you're fishing, it could be worthwhile to, first of all, not attach your self-esteem to every single thing you're doing. And second of all, look at your overall game and, try to bring your A game and hone your A game, especially when it comes to meeting an attractive mate, because that it's all about competition and hardwired biological drives for, what's going to land and what's going to be just under the cut.
Well, if you've ever watched to your what you're talking about, if you've ever watched a dating show, you can see why the topics and the things that they get into right away, why it's not working. It's like you got to step into going, you start by just normal basic stuff and then you got to work your way up to, our last letter is vulnerability. You don't start there. You don't tell them, well, my husband and I have 2 ballroom dance studios. I've done a lot of interviewing for jobs, right? The stuff people tell you, I'm just like, why are you telling me this right now? Well, I lost my tooth because I was in a fight at a bar. And I'm like, you're in a job interview. So I think we got to like clean ourselves up a little bit and, um, let the other person talk, think about, those kind of things, because it does make sense why some of the people are having problems dating. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, you got
Yeah,
to
I
be on your
like
A
that.
game.
Yeah. Start small is a great tip where you don't have to tell your life story. In fact, maybe you could just start with polite and thoughtful questions of the other person and have some back and forth where you get to know the person a little and would look forward to getting to know them more on the next 3 dates rather than, the spewing of the Declaration of Independence on the first date.
It's like, you don't go like, nice to meet you, want to get married. Like there's a lot of information that goes on in between. Um, you know, we hit a little hard on social media and so on, but that is a way to connect via phone number, connect via social media, see how the conversation goes. Like you can step into it or doing something that is a more short term, um, yeah, and you've got to be willing to take the risk. Right? How else are you've got to put yourself out there and be willing to, well, you don't have to do anything. Anna and I say that a lot, right, Anna? So I
Yes.
think, yes, offer invitations without fear of rejection. Start small, work your way up. The next one, though, I think, Anna, you can totally run with this: nurturing consistency through intentional habits, which is N. And, this is a process as well. We're starting with connecting and then maybe moving on to offering invitations. So this is a stepping stone process as well.
Yes, because after you've offered an invitation, you've gone to coffee, you've maybe gone on a bike ride. Now you're starting to vibe with this person typically, and then the world happens and you went on vacation. Then you come back and you haven't talked to your friend for a long time and you feel kind of weird because you don't have the time. Christy talks a lot about her long drives. That's where she makes phone calls. But often when you're creating a friendship with somebody, you don't have that time to take. And so we talk about being consistent, but not consistently having to go visit them, consistently keeping in touch. Hey, I just thought of you today. I know this is a funny thing, but I send memes to people a lot that are like, oh my gosh, I saw this and I thought of you. Or maybe you had a great discussion with them about something that you're both very passionate about, and now you're feeding each other some information that you're sharing. Well, getting on the phone may take a long time. Instead, you can go back and forth maybe via on the Apple iPhone, we have something called voice memo. You can leave a voice memo. You can send them a text. Hey, I was just thinking of you. I was thinking about the conversation that we had the other day, and real quick, I wanted to spin back on whatever that would be for that person, right? Or maybe it is a consistent get together with them so that you can see each other's face because you enjoy each other so much, right? Once a week, you're going to go to coffee and you're going to meet at that place. And the cool thing about that is a lot of times that circle grows right in front of you because consistently you're going to coffee, consistently everybody else knows you're going to coffee, and consistently people show up because they need connection. So nurturing consistency has to be intentional habits with a friend, a connection, maybe in this case, what you were talking about, relationships. I mean, how many times have you heard of somebody saying, I don't, especially in a relationship, right? I don't know. They never texted me after that date. And then the person that didn't text after the date is like, I wanted to text her, but I was super busy. Or, I thought it was better to make a phone call or whatever is the excuse. And then that potential bond could get broken.
So the consistency refers to reaching out and maintaining good, healthy connections, keeping them alive, and I guess ideally leveraging digital communication for the time that you do meet up, even if it's not as frequently as you're texting or sharing information.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, we do believe that getting in front of people is prioritized. However, letting your friend know that you're thinking of them really can give them a boost. In fact, last week we had your friend John Gray on, and he talked about boosts of oxytocin. That is a boost of oxytocin. When somebody sends you a message, you get a boost of oxytocin, whether it's a voicemail, a text message, or a written letter in the mail. So it is helpful for longevity to maintain these relationships.
Okay, now we're to D.
This is when you finally get to the stage where, you deepen your connections through vulnerability. And, is it different for men and women? I think it depends on the person. My father-in-law, he talks to everybody, socializes with everybody. He's the one that drives the relationships in the family. Is it odd? Possibly. He tells stories, all the things. So I think once you're at a stage where you're comfortable with somebody, I think that this is really where true connection happens. That we are willing to be vulnerable, that we're willing to show that we're not perfect and okay all the time. And for me personally, this happened in my journey, and how part of the reason we started the podcast, not always, but perimenopause was a very, very hard time for me. And I didn't know that that's what it was. I just knew and I was about 44 years old, 43, 44. I was in good health. I was a long-term ballroom competitive dancer, and then, stayed active after and all the things. Always went to the doctor with a clean bill of health. And it seemed like all of a sudden I had no energy. I had no, that drive that I enjoyed, all of the things. And I felt like I was going crazy. So I was willing to open up to my friend. I felt safe. And she goes, go get your hormones checked. Well, the long story is, by us talking about it, she was like, me too, which is our motto, right, Ana? And I was able to find an answer, go to an integrative medicine doctor and all the things. But none of that would have happened without being vulnerable and without going like, hey, I don't want to admit that I don't feel like myself, that I don't feel like, that gumption or what have you. And I just think that when you deepen these connections through vulnerability, we can talk about real things. Not, Anna and I call it the Instagram perfect post where we're on vacation. No, you were on vacation, and one of the days you and your husband got in a big old argument, or one of the days you were screaming at your child. Like, that's life. And I think in order for us to feel good, we want true connections where we can actually have real solutions to live better. And I'll tell you what, by just doing that one thing, it has helped me to live better.
Yes. And
that's part
Brad,
of it.
Your audience is, I from what I gather from listening to your podcast, your audience are filled with people that are high achievers. You are talking on a different level in life, in your running, in your fitness, in your diet and exercise, and trying to keep that ball rolling down the road. Well, if we don't talk to people, not only because of the connection, but also how are you, if I don't tell you, if I'm competing with you in the high jump, and I don't tell you that my glute, for some reason, it keeps spasming, and I don't know why, because I don't want you to think that you have a leg up on me, a leg up on me, get it? I feel like you might have the answer. You know what? You need to go roll it out over there. There's a guy over there that's going to help me. That would be vulnerable, even in those scenarios that you and your listeners are in on. However, even more than that to be able to live longer and feel a purpose in life, we want to share in vulnerability, because you lock arms with that person and help them solve what could be a problem or just could be a shoulder to cry on. So next time, I call it friendship deposits. And if I deposit with you in nurturing consistency, I might need you someday, and someday I might need to withdraw on my deposits that I've been nurturing, right? So if I can make my life feel more purposeful and live a longer, happier life by making connection with other people, why wouldn't I make that a priority? You go to the doctor, you take all these supplements, you do all these things this is one of the most simple, cost-effective things you can do for your longevity.
I realize there's a common complaint or condition where the friendships start to feel imbalanced, and so you're making all these deposits, and you're never able to see the
Withdraw?
return on investment because it's one-sided, and someone's really, I guess, whatever term you would use for that, like they're, kind of draining you with their friendship needs, and so that's another challenge to navigate, I suppose. Do you have any insight on that?
Christy does.
Well,
it's so funny you
because
asked.
we did a whole nother podcast episode, and it was funny. You started, we're just kind of locking arms here, all in the same color palette and all the things. But,
Are we
who's
on the
around
same cheer team?
Yeah,
I just want to know.
who's around your campfire. And at some point, you kind of have to look at, like, when I walk away, do I feel drained? Do I feel stressed? Do I find myself complaining about the conversation? And it's fine. Sometimes we're there for our friends, but at some point, it shouldn't be the one way, like what you were talking about. And at some point, you should be feeling better and wanting to achieve more, or wanting to feel better, or you should be uplifted. It should not be a one-sided thing. So, sometimes they're not the one that might be at your tight little circle campfire. They might be, when you go to, like, let's say camp. You were at camp and a kid, and then they had the benches that were a little further away from the circular campfire, and then they had the benches that were even further away. Well, I feel like sometimes it is good to look at your connections, and it doesn't mean that you're, dropping them like it's hot, really, but they might not be the person that needs to be. Yeah. Maybe you should throw them in the fire, actually. No. But what I'm saying is that they might not be your tight inner circle anymore, because you're right. Go ahead.
Christy, we do have the other side of that. And that's that sometimes, and you're the one that shed the light on this before, Christy, and I really think about it often. What is your role in your friendship? So maybe your deposit in your friendship is something different. So Christy talked about how you may be the person doing the inviting a lot or the organizing a lot, but that could be that is your role in the friendship, and maybe owning that and disarming the fact that they aren't putting that part in, but they're valuable to be around. So of course you still want them to not be the person that sucks the life out of the fire, right? But you also want to recognize that actually your expectations of your friends may be because they're expecting you to, or they don't want to miss out on your role in your friendship. So there is that person that has the role of being the listener and the person that has the role of being the talker. That's a little different than maybe the person that is constantly organizing, or those are the things that you want to evaluate before you stick them in the back row of the fire.
Yeah, Christine Hassler, popular podcaster and coach, she says relationships often have an expiration date, and it's okay. And I like that perspective, because things don't have to end in flames. They just might end on a certain year of the calendar, and it's okay. It's like we always have to move on and keep things fresh and exciting and interesting and balanced. And that's okay. We're allowed to throw away spoiled milk and so forth.
Yeah. Well, you have different seasons, you have different transitions, I think, in your life. Sometimes it happens naturally, but that's also why with the bond method, it's like you kind of have to keep that wheel turning of maybe making new connections, because the reason partly that we came up with it is you might have huge transitions where you go from having a lot of friends to none, whether it's moving cities, whether it's changing jobs, whether, for me, it was moving and having a kid and then owning a business all at the same time. It was like party of one. So that was rough, and I think this is a way in which you can nurture new relationships and also maybe at a distance nurture old relationships. But sometimes they do have an expiration date, and I think that's okay.
And sometimes you might just put them on a shelf and let them have some space between the two of you, and it can come back again. It's okay. But I think the roundabout thing that we are trying to share is that friendship is not just what Christy put it really well the other day when she said, I'm not looking for just brunch buddies, although I do love brunch buddies, but it really is a life hack that's getting overlooked for the reasons that we said, but also for the energy and community and to know that you're not alone, which is our big tagline of our podcast. It's like, I want to live better, I want to feel better, and I want to not be alone. I want you to know you're not alone. And we can make a lot of solutions together if we just make connections. And for Christy and I, it's, girl, if you can talk.
Yeah.
Well said. You reference your feeling out of sorts in perimenopause, and how did you, or you guys said you were both feeling tired and connected on that level. So how did you bring back that physical health component?
Well, I think it's the first thing is it's what we talked about. It's having friends to talk to, and then it's being willing to open your mouth. So it's funny, like D is deepen through vulnerability. Well, actually, sometimes maybe vulnerability, let's replace a word. It sounds a little deep, sounds a little scary, which is fine, but it can be literally just being inquisitive. Like we are always seeking for answers. And for sure I am of like, no, it has to be better. You shouldn't have to suffer through this. And you got to be willing to open your mouth in order to find those answers. So that's really what happened is I was willing to open my mouth, willing to have the conversation. Anna and I were, but now that I have experienced it, I'm able to share. And trust me, I mean, one of our new connections that we made at Can't Be More, I didn't even tell her about my experience, and we're casually talking and she goes, man, I go, so, how is I saw on social media, she was, rearranging, like organizing, purging her garage. How's the purging going? She goes, man, I don't know. I had a good start, but now I just don't know what's wrong with me, man. I'm just not feeling the energy and I just needed to, whatever. I go, I understand but she just said something very casually. And I said, you know what? I have been there. I just kind of told her a little bit about my story. And so then, other people were at a beach, yada, yada. I get a text message probably 2 days later. Hey, you were mentioning that you went through perimenopause. What did you do? And this was in casual conversation. Again, she told me a little bit, but then I was willing to also tell her, hey, I felt that way too. People... right? Not just, oh, good on you. I'm not going to be vulnerable and tell you how I felt. So,
and Brad, you're talking about the physical element of that, right? Like, how did we get up and move? Like, how did we get up and decide, okay, I got to make a routine. I got to physically move. My brain needs to feel better. And again, I want to reference this because while Christy went through that with her perimenopause thing, that was a lot of people on here aren't going to, oh yeah, perimenopause. You mean you were going to start menopause? No, it is a real deal, guys. It's like for some women, it is harder than others. And I'm telling you right now, it wasn't as hard for me because I had Christy, because she had gone through it. But the physical part of it that I was going to mention is she called me. I went through something similar, like a depression, I would say, when my kids left. Very big empty nest syndrome. It was real, man. And I felt like I was just out of my mind. I couldn't find my identity. One day, Christy called me. I was walking circles. Now, in hindsight, I also think I was having some other symptoms of perimenopause, believe it or not. But I was walking through the house in circles, just depressed. I was by myself and my husband's at work and I just couldn't figure out how I was going to get out of this cycle. Christy called me and I go, I've done nothing today, and I'm crying crazy. And she goes, all she said to me, Brad, was, have you been outside today? It could make me emotional because I hadn't seen anybody that day. And so that's that is what a friend does. And I went out, I go, you know what? You're right. And I went for a walk outside and it changed everything. It's a story I will tell until I'm blue in the face because it made my day so much better. And it also reminded me, if I ever need to say, she's not going to judge me. She's not going to tell me, well, you got to go, blah, blah, blah. She said, did you go outside today? And it made a huge difference. So yes, the physical part of it. And then now we're like, did you wear your weighted vest? Did you, put on your palooza shoes? Because those are real. I had back pain and she goes, you're wearing your paloovas? No, I was wearing these other shoes. Yes, that. So we are definitely more physical and together. I think it's hard to have friends that don't have any movement or any goals, not just physically, maybe professionally. It could be maybe for your relationships, maybe financial, whatever are your goals. When you share that with your friends, you find yourself moving forward on accident because you're together.
Nice.
It's that whole thing. You know what it is? You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Or 1.7.
Yeah, depending. I mean, I am short. You have room. Maybe you can have 5.3, Christy, because
there you go.
The 0.7.
Yeah, I know that research from the famous social anthropologist Dunbar's number, where we're really incapable of nurturing more than 150 total relationships, which we often exceed when we're in digital life, and it's not meant for the human, and the relationships become inauthentic, unproductive. But there's also the inner circle concept, where a maximum of 12 is about the most you can really manage to have an extremely tight, it's called mutually reciprocative relationship, I think was the term he used, where you would drop everything and help your friend move out on the weekend, and they would do the same for you. And you can't go really with 50 people that way, because you're not going to be there in that manner that's really needed. So I like thinking about both of those concepts, where we have a larger social circle that might be acquaintances or people that we do a certain hobby with, but they're not maybe at the next level. Maybe they will be someday, but there's kind of 2 circles floating around, the inner circle and the social circle.
We call that our fireside chat.
Yes.
The fire ring, and then the one that's maybe in the second row, and your fire. Of course, everybody's fire gets to be choose their own circle, right?
Yeah, and in
So
fact, I think that same research revealed that if you have as few as 1 or 2 close friends, that's plenty, and it's also a good fit for quite a few people that don't need to have this super lively and diverse social experience. And I like hearing that too, because we really have to, this is all individual and by personal preference. And it's, getting from 0 to 1 is essential for healthy life and even disease prevention. Like you mentioned, the tidbits, the bullets from the Harvard study, that we're talking about dementia, stroke, depression, and these things increase risk in association with loneliness. So busting out of that, but not being daunting and overwhelmed as we kind of close up here. We don't want the listener viewer to go away thinking like, oh, I got to make 10 calls every morning like a salesperson to hit their quota. It's not about that at all.
Not at all. Not at all.
It's just more about putting it on, you've got your fitness regimen. You've got your stack, right? You've got your supplements, and you've got your nutrition, and you've got your workout.
Social
which is
stack. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like the social just needs to be on the list of realizing that it is important for your mental and physical and longevity, that it's part of it. It's not just the one thing.
And Brad, I want to mention, you did say about the one friend, and that is very true. Having one friend can be for some of these people, maybe it's their first goal to have that one close friendship. Yet to kind of reach out, because you want go out a little bit from that just one person that you're building a relationship. Because sometimes Christy will piss me off and I got to go call my other friend. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm joking. But you want to have friendships that are I like the Venn diagram even more.
Yeah.
You have that one friend who maybe has one friend, and that you connect together, and keeping open with those friendships is
Well,
good.
yeah,
And keeping
because when Anna goes out of the country for 3 weeks, for God's sakes, when she was gone, I was just like, do, do, do. So I better have
yes.
a few more. You know what I'm saying? Like to put all that responsibility on one person. But it's
Keep
just
your
about
eyes
growing
open.
people that you love to connect and be around.
Yeah, I mean, as John Gray reminds us too, we do not want to rely on our romantic partnership to be all things to you, and so it's essential for relationship health and keeping the spark and the excitement to go out and get your other needs met outside of the relationship, so that you don't have to.
That doesn't sound
Yeah.
appropriate. Can you rephrase that? Get your
Actually,
needs met. Your
actually,
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
phrase
you
that?
gotta unload on your busy, stressful day, and it's going to be a 12-minute conversation, and your husband doesn't want to hear it and might not be as
Right.
receptive as the ladies at the hair salon. You can complain to them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think about his messaging a lot, because we've been socialized to kind of think otherwise and think that the ideal partner is one who is there to do all your hobbies together and to listen to every little thing that you have to say, even though they might not be naturally inclined to be patient and connect in that manner that might be sort of a more female dynamic at the beauty salon historically, or at the book club or whatever. And I can
Yep.
say this because I've been a guest speaker at a female book group. It was probably 30 of them. And the reason I was there is because they chose my book for that month, or I suggested they choose my book. And I didn't get a
That's
word in
fun.
the whole night. And I'm like, wait, you invited the author, but I barely said anything. But a bunch of ladies stood up and said, well, here's my thing about diet. It's everything in moderation. And I'm sitting back like, I wonder if they're going to ask me my opinion, since I was the book of the month. But I was not. And I realized what
They
a
did not
beautiful
need you.
experience it was. They just needed me for window dressing. And then they could really get into it and have the conversation that that gives them, that boost of oxytocin, dopamine, all the great mood elevating hormones, serotonin. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hilarious. And so
That's
um,
awesome.
we need the community to have the most healthy and wholesome, loving relationship. And Esther Perel talks about polarity, where you miss your husband, you haven't talked to him because you didn't call him 27 times that day. You called your girlfriend instead.
Yes.
Yes.
I will give you one more famous quote.
An
Okay. It
Anna-ism?
was
Okay, yeah.
no, it's Gladys Bergner, who is my grandmother. Before I got married, she said this. I go, Grandma, John and I want to have 6 children, or a whole bunch of kids like you did, because we never want to be lonely. And she stopped me. She was never harsh like this. She stopped me and she said, Anna Marie, you listen. Do not put that kind of pressure on your children. They're going to grow up and they're going to start their own lives. And it is likely that your husband will die before you. Statistics state that, correct? With men and women, especially 32 years ago. And she said, you need to have girlfriends, and a lot of them, and make friends as life goes on, because when you get older, they're the only ones that will understand whatever it is. Your husband will not. And you will never be lonely, is what she told me. And then I mean, we have carried it with us forever. So, quote by Gladys Bergner, a lot of studies. I don't know. I like studies.
Well, and it's ditto the other way around, right? Like
yes.
men not relying on their partner or on their kids, that they actually have. My dad and my husband get together and they geek out on stuff that electrician and cars, and I don't even know what they're talking about, and I'm okay with it. Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
this is
You know what I mean?
John Gray's cave time, testosterone boosting activities to return to the relationship
Yes.
feeling whole and empowered. Ladies, this was great. Can you briefly recap the bond so we can have that as our nice closure here? The acronym.
Christy, you go for it.
Yes. So it's BOND. B. It's an acronym. Be open. Offer invitations. Nurture consistency. And deepen through vulnerability. And again, this is meant to just make you think and to have your eyes open and to enjoy life. It's not to stress you out. It's not to give you, a million to-dos, right? It's
Yes.
to, live better, feel better, know you're not alone, live happy with longevity. And again, nobody wants to be on the rock by themselves, like.
And if you need a place to start, you can come to our podcast, Girl Can You Talk podcast, and listen to us talk about all of the things that you need to hear. The things that you're struggling with hearing with personally, that you can live better and feel better. And you are not alone. We can help you get started.
Wow, great pitch there. Okay, people, Girl Can You Talk? Not just for girls. I love listening to your shows and can't wait to hear your conversation with John Gray. So I think we can find you on social media with the same Girl Can You Talk?
Yes.
And go to town.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Keep up the good work. Christy and Ana from Girl Can You Talk? Thanks for listening,
Yay.
watching, everybody. That's a wrap.